Musicians started to look for new sounds in composition after the World Wars. They developed extended techniques on traditional acoustic instruments, and they also built new electronic instruments. Synthesizer is an electronic instrument that generates sound based on combining sine waves. In the old days, synthesizers are as big as a room. Musicians want to find ways to play the synthesizer easier and also looked for a possibility to play different synthesizer on the same keyboard controller. They therefore invented a protocol that could communicate between controllers and synthesizers. That was the beginning of MIDI. Before MIDI was conceived, synthesizers are controlled by computers. Pioneering hybrid synthesizers were the Groove system, developed at Bell Telephone Laboratories in early 1970s. And Edward Cobrin's hybrid systems developed initially at the University of Illinois and later at University of California, San Diego. Around 1981, when the industry was trying to look for new protocol, there were informal contacts between several American and Japanese synthesizer manufacturers, notably Sequential Circuits, Oberheim, and Roland Corporation. The first MIDI instruments were introduced into the market in early 1983. In the same year, MIDI 1.0 specification was published. MIDI separates the controller and the synthesizer. By using a single keyboard, a musician can play many synthesizers at the same time. MIDI is acronym of Musical Instrument Digital Interface. In a MIDI protocol, music is not notated like this. Instead, notes are translated into this and are notated like this. This is a MIDI message comprised of 3 bytes. The first byte is the status byte. The first nibble specifies the function. In this MIDI message, 1001 is note on. The second nibble specifies the MIDI channel. In this MIDI message, 0000 is channel 1. The second byte is the data byte. The first bit is always 0. The 7 bits remains represent the value of data. Since this message is a note-on message, the first data byte represents the key that is pressed. 100000 is 64, that means note 64, that is the key of E3 is pressed. Please note that the octave numbering in MIDI is not standardized. In some system, E3 represents the E above middle C. In some other system, E3 represents the E below middle C. The third byte is also data byte. Start with a 0 bit. The rest of the byte represents the key velocity. That means how fast the key was pressed. That is the volume of the note. Because the data in MIDI is represented by 7 binary bits, the range of a piece of data is 2 to the power 7, that is 128. Therefore, the note number and the velocity are ranged from 0 to 127. Here shows how MIDI interprets a musical excerpt. At time 0, the first note is E3, note number 34 with velocity 35, which is medium loud. And at time 120, again note number 34, E3. Running status means it is also a note-on message like the previous message. So the second MIDI message is sent with just 2 bytes, omitting the first status byte. This is a note-on message with velocity 0 that is equivalent to a note-off message. There are different types of MIDI messages. Channel message, message that targets a specific channel. System message, message that is received by all MIDI device. Running status, use only the 2 data bytes when the same function is called for so as to save time and minimize delays. And control change message, continuous controller message. That is MIDI CC for controls like pitch bend that needs a wider range than 0 to 127. MIDI communication is 0, that means it sends 1 bit at a time, at a rate of 31.25 kilobits per second. MIDI uses this 5-pin DIN jack. Devices are daisy-chained because it is single direction. And its cables are optically isolated to prevent hum and interference from other electrical signals. Like digital audio, when communicating with a PC, a MIDI interface is needed. But nowadays, a lot of MIDI devices has the interface built in, and the only available port is USB. When you see a device with a MIDI jack, don't panic, there are still a lot of MIDI interfaces available out there. The development of MIDI as an industry standard communications protocol for the control of synthesizer fundamentally changed the working environment for the commercial sector.